This will be Ezekiel part 4. I finished the editing, so now what I'm going to do is show you it cleaned up, and I'm going to probably race through a little bit of this to get it all in this video. Oops. Need to start at the top here. And as like you've seen in the other videos, this will mean that I broke it into a story. Now, I'm not going to go through and label them because they're going to be pieces that are scattered into other text that will end up going into other books. So pretty much I'm going to leave a lot of this information in. In fact, I'll have to drop this below this to make sure it goes into the text. But the object is that I'm going to keep some of these editing marks until I get them meshed in, and then I'll clean it up. But anyways, is what you're seeing here. See if I can get this down so you can see how nice it looks when you get the format lined up. And a lot of times two of these small paragraphs will go together to make a larger paragraph. And you can see I'm just cleaning up the text that is here and going through it. As you can see that's all going to be one story. And then this will be the second one. And this is kind of my note to tell me that this is going to be talking about Jerusalem. And that sure isn't, we still haven't seen the destruction of Israel yet. So that's what's kind of going on here. But it is how the text or the formats that I found, how I left them in order. And you can see that story is going to stay together, as well as this chapter. It went right into it. And then in the middle of this chapter, it actually starts talking about something else. That was just too different. Even though you see that this is just a small little group, you can see that it just doesn't fit with the text above it or below it. And just like that's a small little piece. And a lot of times these pieces will go together, and sometimes I'll get rid of them. Right now, I'm just going through and showing you that that's what the text is like. Now, that's the PDF, so I don't need to get into every little detail here, because the next one here is what I took all the 3 verse groups, okay, and I put them in order, or put them in this group, and I tried to be more defined as the group of stories and how they were put together. I've got in edit form. Why am I just... Oh, I just broke it into a 3 verse group. Okay, so you're going to see the same text with no editing thrown into a 3 verse. I just do this so you guys get the idea of when you're looking at the text and seeing all the different PDFs, you understand how I worked with them. Whoops. I must have clicked on the same thing here. So, yeah, this is the 4 verse. So these are there wasn't very many of the 4 verse. So let me see. And I'm pretty sure that there wasn't much. Just like you can see, I've got still questions that when you mesh them together, how do they sound, or putting them in correct order. Okay, here's below is new order. Okay, now let me see if I did that to 3. Just maybe I rushed through that. So this would have been Ezekiel 1. No, that was me still editing. Okay, I guess I didn't put this in order, but I did it on the other one because it was probably a smaller group. and it was easier to do. So what I did do, you'll see in this PDF then, is these are going to be how they were found in order. Let's see, they're 12, and then that group stayed together. Then it went to 13, and I don't know what's going on here yet. And then 27. Okay, this story is going to be at the end, so it's almost stayed in order, I think. Yeah, although you can see, no, this is going to be one story, and this is going to be another story. See how I grouped them together as this text goes with this. And then you can see what I did to do that. I had to get rid of a verse and just add a word here for it to read like it goes together. Like this is where they took it apart and I'm putting it back together. The words are so close to be what our Creator was saying that when I was looking at the text, whether the text was just completely two different stories or should they be one? And I decided that they should be one by getting rid of those that group there. And then this group didn't need it. It didn't fit with the text. This is, remember I said I had some questions about it. And then what I did was I took this verse and put it down here at the bottom. So you can, it was easier to do just the quick, easy four verse groups because this one didn't change. And this one is so different that I don't know where this one's really going to go. I know I raced through that a little bit, but because I wanted to get to this one here, because now I've got all my editing in this group and more editing when I put the 3 and 4 verse together. And then, like I said, okay, now this is where I should have left. And I want to make sure I do this. Ezekiel 1. That's, so when I pick it up and go, what chapter did it start? Well, I remember it right now. Here, the heavens opened up. I decided that I didn't need to use this. I needed to add who he is. This is because this story is so important as to his first time meeting our Creator and our Creator telling him he's going to make him a prophet. I felt that this edition of me putting in Ezekiel was by the river Jordan sitting on a bank. And then when you read the story, it is his story of him becoming a prophet. So this is very important. I don't know how many are in this detail of a story, but it's very unique to see this type of text. We don't have the original of everything, and so I know this story is going to end up being very special at the very beginning. It gives us that insight. And flashing over, and it was continuing forth, it might have made sense, but when I kept reading, because I read these 3 or 4 times before when I'm editing, then check, and then say, okay, that's enough, let me get on with it. And what's down here, it doesn't make sense how it got there. So it was, above it was a cage, is more or less what I'm saying. The words were telling me it was above it, but the word cage, I'm not really sure if I should have used the word cage until when I decided that it's good enough to get the representation of the meaning, because above the cage is going to be our Creator. So the thing here is that you have to understand the story to understand why I'm saying there's this cage. But I had to make it as the second stage of what was going on, because there's this great cloud and it was flashing, and above it was a cage, and then there's these beings. And then over the cage, here I had to put the cage again, was again something like a floor. I remember describing that in the video, why I wanted to make sure the word floor was there. And now I can use the word expanse. But you can see that then it means when I start putting in the cage and the cloud and everything, and I needed to change the word then to everything, so it became a group that stopped, and not just that something was disappearing. This is the way he's seen it, whether I'm saying everything stopped, and not just that all of a sudden they disappeared out of his sight, and I don't know that. But the object is this is how I wanted to put it in, is everything stopped. Had to add the word and then just for it to read smoother. And you can see our creators talking to him. And then you will declare my words to them. A lot of times I will say, I will say prophesy my words to them or tell them my words. But here I thought it was strong enough at the very beginning that the text should be that he declared my words to them. He's directly telling them. Now here, this is just saying that he appointed him a prophet. It was a format. It doesn't go in. It just got removed. That you can see I've got, this should have been closer together because the story is flowing together. Then he was lifted up like now he's still in this vision and then gone over. See here, the text doesn't have that to begin with. So when I was putting it together and it was 3-verse, I said, okay, then these two go together. It reads really well together as well. Brought him to the wall. Now, why am I using the wall instead of the gate? It's because of what's going to happen in the text below here, where he was at. Because the word gate appears later. This just means he was brought to the wall. And he saw these leaders there. Now, these because I don't know if they were at the gate or it would have been, let me say, when you're looking at the prophecy of whether they were at the gate, meaning that they were trying to teach the people differently than what's on the other side of the gate in our Creator's way. That could be the good meaning of leaving the word gate in here. I decided for the word wall, but still, I guess that's debatable. Have to think about that. In fact, what I'll do is, because at the end of this, I've got all this text removed. So in this PDF, you'll see that text is there. And this here, when I kept reading it, this text kept sticking out like a sore thumb. So I just said, got to get rid of it and put in a verse that makes sense. And that was completely added by me. These little changes are just to smooth out the writing together. I think that was some of the stuff that I had removed around. But anyways, they're his friends that are doing this, that were stopping all this. And then the story is continuing, even though it sounds like this is going to start a new prophecy. The text, when you read it later, you'll see how well it does go together. So I put it as one and not two. I don't know if I did this in our Creator's everlasting promises, but here I'm doing that. And to make it as one, I needed to change all these words around. And now we have a different story here. Okay. And these go together. if I get rid of these words here, and they'll be hooked together as one story. So as you see, when you're jumbling these things up, nope, here's the text that I had moved around and stuff like that before. I wanted to keep it here and showed you because it's the editing that was there. So I erred in speaking above what I thought I had done. This will be a starting of another story. It was just too different, didn't connect right. These two go together as long as I get rid of this. And I changed it to swordsman instead of just swords, but swordsman. It's a different way of using the word army. I'll bring their army, but swordsmen, that's the ones that you would know that they'd be to kill. Now, sometimes the writing reflects how that original writer would write the text as well. So instead of saying an army, it would have been swordsmen, which would mean to capture. It's just not an army coming to battle. These swordsmen are just coming and they're going to take it over. And that's pretty much what happened for Israel. They didn't put up much of a fight. And change the word from prophet to watchman. This text, I had a deal where I had a note to myself, move. Actually, text didn't go anywhere. Even if I tried to go up and down, tried to find a place, it didn't fit anywhere. This is another story, but if you notice here, I've got the letter B that, because I had it originally as one, brought it over, it sounded like one, but it was out of order the more I read it, that this part needed to be put up here because it's starting to talk about the two were supposed to be the one together. And you can see I have brought that edited text that I just showed you from the last video forward. So I've done my job. And then you can see Jesus is the one who he's talking about here. And then you can see A here. And then he brought me to the middle of the valley. Because when I was reading in this, you needed the content that there's going to be Jesus is finally coming. When you read this story, it's like the people that are in the abyss had been there for so long that they were thinking that he had forgotten us. He forgot the problem. And this is kind of represented in the words, they were very dry. But he's saying, what he's doing is he's pretty much prophesying that they are going to come again and live together. And then I had to change, that's why I got the words his kingdom down here in red, because when you read this, you still needed it to the kingdom to happen first. So they were just out of order. So that's how I flipped them around and noted them A and B. Now this group here got inserted. It got inserted, as you can see, this was one group here. This last part went with this part up here. You see I've got no ending here. So I inserted this into here. It's no longer a question mark. I inserted. And then I needed to move this group down group down to here to really make more sense, to make the words flow right. And it was kind of reading out of order. And you can see that it reads better when it's in order like this. And then I needed this verse at the end, and it rounded up. In fact, it actually feels like that's how this should have went to begin with. And then they just, like I said, took a piece and put it there. And that's why you see some of them pieces I'm throwing out that I didn't know. You now can see what had happened and how they did destroy the text. Now here I think is our first 4-verse grouping of text in this, and I've tried to put it in order as an order. I think this is with an I. This is the prophet I was saying when I was going through the editing video, that this story sounds like this was happening at that time, and then Manasseh killed him. But this would have been the prophecy that he did because he's speaking against them. But again, these same beings that glowed like metal show up here. So, small little edits. I had carved by the wall. Now, I know in the editing I had done that, and you can see that I went backwards and I forgot to edit this out. But I'm going to leave it in there. I could clean it up right now and say go back to the other text, the very beginning one, and find it. Well, it made more sense that they didn't carve it into the walls. You have to understand that they were plated, or they were overcovered with gold, so they wouldn't have destroyed the walls. Sometimes things don't click until I reread, and then, oh, this thing, I remember this, now this, when I'm reading it, it means this. So, but then you can see how that story is grouping together with this group, and that, this becomes a 3-verse here. Is this all 3-verse? Yeah. This is all 3-verse. That 4-verse got stuck in there. And then these stories, this one reads like it goes together. I kind of maybe forced it a little bit, but they're so similar of being said, what's being said. It does, there could have been a better grouping to go to these before they just got together. But anyways, like I said, when they ripped them up, they didn't care. They're just piecing these things together. And you got to remember, I'm working with text that they have had 2,000 years to edit, remark. Well, I know for a fact, since King Manasseh was around, that these guys have been doing it. So probably closer to 2,300 years. The first 300 years, they did mess with it a lot, because I showed a picture, and it's very important that I have a picture. There it is. Here it is. This they found in Egypt, or in Egypt, but this is a scroll. Okay, this is on a hide. Now it's a very large one, so they made it, but you can just see that a little bit is just, this one's 4,000 years old. Okay, they say it's 4,000 years old. So you know that when they put them in the manuscripts, they destroyed these. And so I just wanted to show you how perfect it could have been if the good guys were in control. But they were overthrown by mankind. I don't know, in the future, you're probably going to have to, I think I have contacted mankind on the western side for the United States. And I challenged them to see who knew more. And I won, because it was a challenge on how much you know about this practice with the female goddess. Our creators let me know everything, okay? I'm just telling you. Things that are so hiddenly, secretly written in certain parts of Buddhism and Taoism, the West has not even caught up with. And when I was explaining Taoism and how males were living an average life of 1,000 years, they had to pay attention to me, because I proved to them that the Buddhist practice that they were under, and they're trying to change all this text for reincarnation. Taoism, I don't think, believes in reincarnation. I never read that it's reincarnation there. But the object here is that they have been doing this rearranging of the text for a long time. And when I got a hold of these guys, and then I told them one of the first videos in the description box below on how to witness your soul in the abyss, that changed their life, because they knew that if anybody could do it, then everybody's didn't need their practice to become a god. It literally changed their whole understanding of that, understanding that they had been believing in for thousands of years under the Buddhism practice. And anyways, the practice that's down there, they did repeat to where our Creator made them see them, or him see them see him. And what you'll see now in this, what we call today Halloween time, but it's actually a time of the year where a maleness retracts inside the body. And that's the true meaning of Halloweeny, okay? But the object is that they're running the letter X on products. People are living their lives and don't understand encryption. They really don't. I mean, if I was to treat this like a game, the life as a game, there are absolutely ignorant people that are down here at the bottom that haven't figured out yet. And then there's Christians that are believers, okay? And then these guys, mankind, are here. These guys have encrypted so much of the text of all knowledge and used all these trick words to deceive people that these groups below are really ignorant, and I understand they're living life, but they are so brainwashed that I can tell my family what I'm doing here, and they still don't believe it. And I still don't understand it. It's just amazing that I can show them the 12 commandments. They still talk 10. I can tell them that, hey, look, this is the first day of the first year. It's the summer solstice. You think they practice that? No. Do they try to keep to the 12 commandments? No. But I understand our Creator has mercy for people. But to me, it's just frustrating to at this time that the code is out there. I show them this X. I take them into the stores and say, look at all these products now have the letter X on them. And it's just that the letter X, I know, went into Europe. What is this, 2020? Had to be 10 years ago. It started spreading in America. Then it went into Europe, and I can remember being on the web pages and your atheist boards. And then they started paying attention to me, and I can remember there was like 4 guys, and they all had one guy had 13,000 posts, and the highest guy had 30,000 posts on this website, or on this bulletin board. And then when I told them what was going on, they started seeing it over there in Europe, because that's where they were living. They kind of what? I says, you're missing the game. Here, this is it. Do this. And then I noticed here, because I do watch a lot of what's today is called YouTube. It's a channel where you have anybody putting up videos like myself. And I keep an eye on movies, because the encryption inside movies, people don't see it, but I can see it. Well, I started watching martial art movies, and I come across these things that are called series, like drama series. And there was one that started out, and I'm looking at it, I'm realizing oh, look at the symbols in this, the background, the foreground, the color, the people who are dressing. Look at the way their foot is being moved when they're talking, their hands are moving. Look at the encryption of this. I said, only a Taoist can do this. And I mean, the guys that are 500 years old writing this program, or to make this program exist. And as I'm going through it, I realize that there's going to be a 13th leader. And I just, not in Taoist world, what's going on? Something's going on with the Taoism now. And it was like 62 programs at like 45 minutes a piece that I went through. But because I'm into encryption and seeing all the coding that's going on, and when I'm realizing that they're changing, this is not Taoism. This is the changing of Taoism. And then the series ends, and I'm kind of like, it's in the middle of like 8 different stories here of the hexagram. Like, they got this thing going on, and I'm kind of like, ugh. And when I went and searched, I found another group that is continuing, but it didn't really hook together. You had to go find the hook. But there's 42 more stories, and at the end, it's Taoism saying that their practice is wrong. So I'm just saying that people today don't understand encryption, but I know when I say that all these practitioners of the female goddess are really ones coming to our Creator right now. You Christians that are not, you guys, you're so brainwashed. You got to get over it. You got to just say, throw out the Bible, start understanding what I'm doing here for you. This is what I was given to do for you. This was prophesied by Jesus. It was prophesied by our Creator. So the thing here is at some day, I know that in the future, everything is going to be fine. This text is going to go around the world as the text. So it's very important for me to go through and explain everything I'm doing, especially because I've got all those videos due for our Creator's hidden formats. And I have to redo that book, re-edit the text there too as well, because I'm learning here in this one when I'm doing it. I started doing this for fun because I started arguing with people about the Gospels online. And I started pointing out, and I would run across one of these guys that are still haven't figured out the encryption. They don't even get the encryption until it's put in their face. And then they kind of like, what? So it's kind of like I said, okay, you pick a verse and I'll show you what's wrong with it. And that's what I did to the 4 Gospels. I went through them and I destroyed them. I said, this is what's left. And that's how I got started in this and go backwards. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. But I know I'm doing this, and when I'm realizing how much I'm doing, this is secondary. It has helpful information, but it's secondary. So don't think you have to memorize all this. You do need to really study our Creator's everlasting promises. And I mentioned I still don't know where this is going to go. This is going to go, I don't know where, okay? But that's going to be the end of that. And then below this text is all of it just cleaned up with it not there. And this, like I said, I've left myself notes that when I mesh them, I'm not going to remove the locations yet, like I've done in the other books, because those books started meshing together, so I needed to clean them up. But this one seems to be one of those that I have to wait, because I know it's getting close to the end of, I think, Kings 2 and Chronicles 2. They kind of blend together at the end. I think that's how it goes. But it's been a long time. But the object is this text here at the very end is what I'll be using when it's all cleaned up. So, after all, thank you. And I will start with, I think, Genesis next.